This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded September 23rd, 2012. Episode 114, Judging Jurisdictional Junctures.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Chip Report TV and Chris Gamble's Analog Life.
And this is Jeff Kaiser from MightyOhm.com.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes,
Did I do it right? I have to get in the joke. It's standard.
He's back.
Welcome back, Jeff.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, guys. It's good to be back.
Oh, it's been too long. It's been
I know.
months.
It has been
Because
months.
your life is flashing before your eyes at Valve, isn't it? It seems like only yesterday. And how long's it been?
It feels like a really long time, but I've only been working at Valve for 3.5 months. So I don't know when the last time I was on the show was, but it was probably, 4 months ago? 3.5, 4 months ago? Yeah.
Is it that stressful? Is your life that in danger working that close to Jerry and Ben and Alan that you you have just cortisol coursing through your veins because you're so stressed? Is that why it's going so fast?
No, it's actually, for me, it feels like it's been a long time just because my life changed very dramatically and I'm still sort of adjusting to it. It's not every day that you pack up all your stuff and then move across the country and start something that's completely new and different. So
When you have a family in particular.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and my wife moved as well, and she's been working kind of the same job, but it's different because she's working in a different office. And so for us, everything changed very dramatically because I'd been working at home and she'd been working at home at least part-time as well for years. And so to go back to both of us having a regular job and commuting to work and stuff like that, that's a big shift. And it feels like everything before that was a long time ago just because of how different it is now. But it's
plus there's the 60-degree difference that you had to experience going from Texas up to Washington, right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I could not be happier about the weather up here. People say that people say that it's about to get really bad.
Yeah.
We've had a really beautiful summer here. In fact, one of my coworkers was saying that this is the best summer he's ever had.
You brought the
since he's
sunshine.
lived in this area.
You've been duped.
Yeah,
right,
so
once winter comes, you're
Yeah.
screwed.
Yeah.
You won't be able to get in the front door, right? You'll have to take a spade with you to, the front door of Valve would be snowed
does not,
in, wouldn't it?
No, it does not snow that much here. They get
Right.
an inch or two a year, if that.
Oh, okay.
And
Right.
Yeah, that's
it's the
nothing.
rain and the gloom and the darkness and the short days because we've been getting used to it getting dark at 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening, and now the days are getting shorter. Every day, it seems like the days are getting shorter. And I think in the wintertime, there's only a few hours of sunlight.
Jeff's going to become
Quick, the sun's out. Everyone races out from the building to have a look,
No, I've seriously been warned. You better get ready. It's going to be dark and gloomy, and I think actually people are watching me to see how I respond.
You start
See,
going into
they're
depression.
smart. Valve are smart. They hire in the summertime.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think people. Yeah, that's certainly a good tactic because I was here in February of this year and it snowed while I was here.
Oh, really?
So that I think if Kylie had come out here, Kylie is my wife. If she'd come out here during that time, she may not have been so keen on moving.
She really tricked her.
Yeah. Well, it's all about presenting everything in the best possible light.
Yeah.
Jeff has 3 months left at Valve, folks,
That's right.
before the wife makes him move back.
Oh, I'm sure we can find another guest on by then that you guys can pull in your stead, right? Someone who's used to the lack of sun.
So would it be accurate to say that Valve is, and those sorts of companies, because I've worked at a similar company, that's pretty much, you have to be single to work there, really. Being a family person is probably tough at a company like that where people work until midnight.
I'm hoping to disprove that, but it's actually not totally true. So I know that in my dealings with people at Valve that there are actually quite a few people that have kids, and I think the workforce is maybe the mean age is increasing because Valve's been around for long enough that people that have been there since the beginning, now they have families and they have kids, where before maybe they were, eating day-old pizza at midnight coding. Like, they're not doing that as much anymore. But actually, it's interesting because there's a mix. There are quite a few people that are young, just out of school, or have been working as young professionals, or single, and they can afford to spend all of their waking hours at the company, even though it's not required. It's fun, it's interesting, and it's exciting, and so people do. But I'd say the majority don't. That's actually the exception. Much more than the rule. I've been trying to strike a balance because I like to work late, and some of the other people that I work with do as well. And so it's not unusual to be there at 7 or 8 o'clock or later in the evening. But a lot of times that's when the interesting conversations about sort of the more softer side of the company and product development, like we're having more free discussions because the stress of the workday is sort of winding down, and people are becoming more social in the evenings and kind of.
Are you saying there's a beer tap somewhere in the building?
No, there's actually not.
Oh man, you're a software company. I thought software companies all had that.
But this is sort of the equivalent of the coworkers going out for a beer, right? Yeah. Going to the local watering hole, because that's when you kind of get to talk more openly about sort of what's going on and what you're interested in doing, and
that's when a lot of stuff gets designed too, right? I mean,
that's right.
You figure how many things throughout history have been designed on bar napkins. It's probably a shocking amount, and you look at other cultures too. I mean, I know that like in Japanese culture and Korean culture that I experienced, a lot of the business, like the actual business, when the decisions get made, that's how it over drinks too. It's just like. It's once you relax and you're chilling with people, and then you actually get stuff done.
It's right. And if you're... I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, so I just wanted to mention, I've heard of one company here in Sydney who, like a startup based on the napkin, and they actually framed the original napkin and it hung awesome. In their foyer. There's the napkin. Cool. There's our first ever sketch. Brilliant.
Yeah, and the truth is that if you're like a 9-to-5 employee, you might be missing out on that stuff. And I think it's really important to sort of be connected at that level with other people at the company and be involved in these kinds of discussions. And so it's sort of like there's an incentive to hang out and just be there and be a part of this conversation that's happening. And I mean, granted, at a place like Valve, there's relatively few people that are by the clock. Like 5 o'clock rolls around and they take off and go home.
Out the door.
But, people with different family and other obligations have different constraints on kind of how much they can be there and how much they can participate. And I like to try to find a balance where I'm there some of the time, but I'm not there, I'm certainly not there at midnight every night, right?
2 words, telepresence machine.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
This little robot Jeff walking around the Valve corridors,
Yeah, man. With your Google goggles controlling it or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's good for burnout too. I mean, like you said, it's good for balance, and if you're there too much, you'll burn out. But you can. There's always times when you're ramping up. Like I know my stuff's ramping up now, and it's timed out pretty well actually because. Well, the weather's going to crap around here too, so it's might as well be at work, right? I mean, if it's going to be dark when I drive home, it's no different if I drive home at 4:30 rather than 8:30. So I don't care. Yeah. Not outside walking or anything. So yeah.
Well, it's just like people in hot parts of the country, they stay at work because there's air conditioning, right? Like it's nice to be there instead of being outside. And so, you're right. And it changes. Like I was working really hard on getting a design out a couple weeks ago, and I was there late every night just trying to hammer out this design. And then, I finished and the design came back and it worked. And so, you kind of like, you throttle up when there's challenges, and then you try to, recover that time when things are a little bit more, normal.
Right. Yeah. And if you just keep throttling up too, your work quality is gonna plummet. So
that's definitely true.
Have that balance.
Unless you're a superstar, designer.
Even them, I think. I think that those people just have average levels that are just high above everyone else. If they had the time to step back down, they could throttle up even better. They could just do even better things. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Whew. We are going to talk about on today's show something we never talk about.
Never.
Kickstarter.
We wouldn't.
And open source hardware. Sorry, folks.
But not the whole time, right? We agreed not the whole time.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
There's
I know,
some
we
other
probably
stuff
could
to
go the
talk
whole
about.
show about it,
Oh, I
because there's
guarantee
been
we
a
could.
lot of shake-up in not only the open source hardware community, but the whole Kickstarter thing. So, yeah.
What do we start with then? Which one?
Should we get the MakerBot out of the way?
I guess.
Oh, yeah, I know. Groan, yes. Chris,
I guess.
you just, yeah. You don't,
I'm
I'm
ambivalent towards it by now. You know, like I'm sure some of our
right.
listeners don't care, and some have already heard about it, and the rest are probably fuming about it still. But I don't know. It's just I'm past it. I don't care.
Well, if you haven't heard, it's not a rumor anymore. They basically are confirmed as they are going to close some aspect of the open hardware nature of the MakerBot thing, which has always been, 100% open source hardware. That's how they founded the company. That's why they were successful, etc., etc. And they've, and they're talking a lot of doublespeak at the moment, which is quite sad. But no, it is basically they have admitted that, yes, they are closing it in some way, shape, or form, which we don't know yet. We don't know the absolute details of it. Jeff, give us your take. Good, bad, thumbs up, thumbs down, inevitable.
Gosh, it is such a complicated issue, and I can definitely understand the frustration of the community, particularly the community that intersects with the open hardware community. I think a lot of people adopted the MakerBot because it was an open platform that could be hacked and tinkered with, because honestly, the first iterations of it weren't very good, right?
No,
I mean,
right.
it was a very experimental platform, and it left a lot to be desired in terms of repeatability and usability. And so a lot of very resourceful hackers came together and started glomming things onto it and improving the build platform and messing with the software. And so obviously this community that is very attached to the MakerBot and has been basically fueling its success are now really PO'd, right? Because they feel that they've been slighted, or at least a small number of very vocal people feel like they've been slighted by MakerBot because the MakerBot Replicator 2 is not going to be 100% open source. So, I feel for them. They have a good point. But on the other hand, MakerBot is in this to make money, right? And
They're venture capital funded, yes.
They're VC funded.
That is their
and
sole goal. Yeah.
That's right. So was this expected? I think once people saw that the VCs were involved, the writing was on the wall. Yeah, that's right.
They probably didn't expect it so soon, I suspect. They probably eventually, in 5 years' time, it'll,
5 years is a long time these days.
Yeah, exactly. But man.
Well,
I don't know.
Dave had a video
one.
about it. We should mention that too. I mean,
I did. I didn't say much because I shot that an hour after I heard, news was just coming through and it was still a rumor, So I didn't say anything, but.
I'm frankly amazed at the shitstorm, how quickly, it was Thursday, right? The Replicator 2 was announced on Thursday, and by Thursday night, it was everywhere, and it was so the reaction was so intense, and it's just amazing how something like that, it just the avalanche
it overshadowed it too, right? I mean, it was it's a pretty cool new product, and it's it's
and a lot of the things that have been flying around are based on speculation and rumors too. That's the thing, is that no one really knows. No one, I mean, for all we know, MakerBot could be having meetings behind closed doors right now saying, maybe we should open source this because people are getting kind of upset.
Antsy in the paintsy.
So, I mean, who knows? In a week, the situation might be different. So it's interesting how far this went just based on one announcement and no confirmation on the actual open source status of the Replicator 2.
Well, they certainly didn't improve the situation with their double talk response. I mean, it actually came from Bree, and it was either vetted by somebody else or he has been very well indoctrinated in the ways of big company talk, because there were no specifics in there at all. It was all, airy-fairy, pie-in-the-sky stuff.
I read that entire press release
Yeah.
as saying we haven't decided yet, right? I mean, that's really how that read.
I read it differently. I read it as, yes, we are going closed source, but we don't want to admit it. Basically, that's pretty much.
Well, everybody brings their own things to the table, though. Too.
I thought I could read it. You
could have read it as.
But I don't think they're going completely
everything.
closed source, right? They're probably not legally allowed to, right? But I read that as we're going closed source in as far as our lawyers tell us we're allowed to.
Right.
That's pretty much, how I read that. So whether or not I'm correct, I don't know. And there's a couple of aspects to this whole saga. Was 1A, does it make any actual difference? Because really, is anyone, like from a completely open point of view, is anyone actually going to build their own replicator from scratch?
Right.
I
Aside
mean,
from the Kickstarter guy, right?
Who didn't,
right.
get off the ground, right? And you can actually buy a replicator from China. There is actually a Chinese company called Mbot who actually currently sell a replicator and a Thing-O-Matic. It looks slightly different, but they've basically taken the original files, tweaked them a bit, made it look a little bit different, and you can buy one fairly cheaply. Much cheaper than the Tangibot was going to be, so it's already happened. But, is the individual in their backyard going to build one from scratch? The answer is pretty much no, right? Essentially hardly
it's like
anyone.
that quote about any piece of technology that's sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. Yeah. Not that the users of this are, unable to figure it out, but it's just a sourcing
to
parts.
Get running.
Yeah,
these
and sourcing
things are
parts
very,
really.
And sourcing the parts and
in
all that
small
sort of
volumes.
Stuff,
right? Sourcing everything in small volumes is your cost would go through the roof. Yeah.
So I think it's more important to think of the open aspect, as in people can have the ability to at least modify a few things. I don't think it matters from a point of view of people able to build one from scratch. I don't think that really matters a rat's ass anymore in these really complicated devices,
But
because they're simple on the surface, these things, but they're really complicated to actually get working and tweak and have a commercial and make a commercial product out of.
Right. I like I said, I'm kind of past it, but
right. Okay.
I don't know. I think the thought experiment I've been doing is, so this all started from a open source hardware perspective, right? And from that perspective, if it was an open source hardware to start with, it wouldn't have existed, right? I mean, that's kind of the main thing. So
yeah, pretty much. So they do owe their existence, and I think they're forgetting that. But you've got to understand, of course, that the venture capital people who came in don't give a shit about that.
Well,
they don't care because they weren't the founders. They just put money in and said, right, we want to make a return on our investment. End of story.
Well, maybe here's a better question then.
And I think if they can do it by making it open, they probably would, right? But
yeah,
I think because they don't want this to be a $20 million company. They don't want it to be a $50 million company. They want it to be a $500 million or $1 billion company, right?
You know what's cool? $1 billion.
$1 billion, exactly.
Well, here's a question though.
Yeah, go.
What happens if someone started up tomorrow, right? And they came in and they took an Arduino, right? Open source hardware project, and they started they just took it and they used it in a new product. They didn't call it an Arduino or anything like that, but they just took it and they started a company based on that, and assuming it was, something people wanted to buy, and they said, "Nope, we're not open source." No, we're not. I mean, is that...
They legally probably can't do that in various ways because it's done under a legal license. It's not just given away. There's a legal license behind the Arduino.
So it's
most open source hardware stuff.
The attribution and the share alike. It's the share alike, right?
And the share alike's the killer, right? That's the thing that really scares the shit out of these venture capitalists, right? Oh shit, we have to actually give it back, right? It's that's the scary thing. Oh, if we build upon it in some way, shape, or form, we're kind of sort of legally obligated to give it all back.
So then how is that not going to work now? That's the part I can't get around.
It's a complex business.
No, but that's not an answer. That's
no, I know.
So if all this stuff is open to start with, and they say from now on, no, we're not open at all and they've already used share alike, does that mean someone's going to come in and say, well, then prove it's different? Is it like a court case kind of thing?
The only way to settle it is in the courts, I'm afraid.
Ugh.
I know. Ugh. Yeah. Ugh. I know. Let's all sigh at once.
This Apple Samsung taste in my mouth
Yeah,
is
I know.
still terrible.
And it's going to end up like that. Seriously, it's
And who even puts money behind the other side of it,
only at the big player level, right? Only at the big player level, because no one's going to bother. The open source hardware. Who
has money to argue in court, right? If you don't have
lawyers.
VC money behind it or something, who's on the other side then? Is it like we do a Kickstarter for, like to fight court costs? It's like I'm not throwing in for that. No effing way.
I know there is no answer because there has not been a suitable test case yet, really, in the open source hardware thing. And this might be the big test case, but as we're implying here, the people with the money always win unless you can challenge them. Who's going to challenge the venture capitalists behind MakerBot, right? They've probably got a lot more money than they've already put in.
Well, I mean, why would they be challenged? There's nothing to...
Well, that's right. They may just be shamed, right?
So we don't know whether they're actually... I mean, it seems like that would only make sense if they were actually legitimately using or violating the license for some open component of their system. But, I mean, for all we know, they've redesigned the necessary components that were open.
They could have.
Or for all we know, they may continue to use open components and keep those open, but then, for example, restrict the access to their proprietary slicing engine that they've got on the new replicator, too. I think that's probably the most likely case. Or if they designed a new head from scratch. For example, sure.
Right? If any new hardware they design from scratch, they have every right in the world, and I fully support them, to making that non-open.
And that's kind of like how Android is as well, isn't it? Like certain components are open, but certain parts aren't.
I'm not sure. I thought
that was part of how they got it, because I remember with the whole Oracle like yelling at Google about using Java in there somewhere, but
it happened with the Open Office suite.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that's right.
Suite, I think, and then it forked off. And
VirtualBox has the same thing. You can download VirtualBox; it's open source. But if you want USB 2.0 support, you have to download a proprietary extension, and that's not open. So you have a mix. You have a mix of open and closed.
That's like an Audacity too. Together. You can't. There's no MP3 encoder included with the software we use. That's open. Yeah, that's the same.
So
kind of thing.
It was probably inevitable that they were just going to close some aspect of it, I think. I'm not really surprised by this at all.
Yeah.
I think everyone kind of expected it. As long as they don't, I don't think anyone would have a problem with them if they truly produced new innovations themselves from scratch, not making those open. I don't think anyone would in the open source hardware community would have an issue with that. Right? There's nothing that forces them to have to open everything they actually produce. But I think if they do genuinely build upon, stuff substantially, is like if they continue to use the Arduino, for example, as their electronics, engine, and they, and they don't give back changes to that, then, well, that's, against the spirit of the whole thing, and they deserve to be shamed for it.
I really, really doubt that's what's going to happen.
Who invited this Kaiser guy anyways?
I mean, their lawyers have probably looked at it and go, right, we can close this, and this, and, and we're legally obliged, legally allowed to do it. And everything else, well, we'll just keep it open to try and keep some people happy.
Yeah. I think it's maybe not to keep people happy, but because they're required to.
And B, they're required to, right?
Yeah. I definitely see them taking a hybrid approach where things like their proprietary slicer, I can't remember what it's called, but they're introducing a new slicing engine to replace, what is it, SkyneForge?
And that developed in-house, was it?
That's right. Yeah. So they've got this special software they're using to do the slicing now. They'll keep that closed, and if they're still using Arduino, obviously they'll keep that stuff open. And who knows? But it'll be interesting to see. The Open Hardware Summit is next week, and I think Bray is speaking at the summit, right? So
wouldn't you hate to be him? at the
Yeah,
moment.
the timing is impeccable.
You'd be getting evil eyes as you walked in. Man.
It could not be worse timing or better timing for this to have happened. So I don't know. Chris, are you going to the Open Hardware Summit?
No, I can't go this year. I scheduled
I've
something on top of it. Well, yeah, you're the other way. I'm a lot closer than you are now, but yeah, I scheduled something right on top of it.
It'll be really interesting to see how this is hashed out at the summit. I'm sure it'll be a topic for discussion.
Yeah,
we
and that's
need
why
video. Come on, we need video.
Yeah,
as
they'll
Bree
stream
walks
it
in
probably.
and
They'll,
you know.
that's why I'm like, because this is going to stop soon, so I think we should give it up now. We should give up the ghosts and move on.
All right, that's enough on the MakerBot.
Yeah, it was.
But there's been some interesting stuff on the Kickstarter front.
Yes,
there really has. They've just changed their rules. I know we talk about Kickstarter a lot on here, and everyone's probably sick of it.
Well, we do, but for a good reason, right? We talk about even
for a good
talking
reason.
to Scott Miller last week. It's for good reason because that's where it all is right now for hardware.
It's a big
for hardware.
enabler in our industry to get people started on the hardware front, and
Right.
it's one of the most important things out there.
And these changes have been specifically targeted towards people selling hardware.
Yes,
or selling.
they have.
Even how I'm saying it is kind of interesting because it's not supposed to be selling hardware, and the title of their post was "Kickstarter is not a store."
Yes,
which is. Yeah, but they're not.
So here are the things that they're changing. The content creators, the creators of the Kickstarter project, now must, in quotes, they must. What's the word? They must answer the question: what are the risks and challenges this project faces, and what qualifies you to overcome them?
Yeah.
As in, how the hell are you going to get this manufactured when you've never manufactured anything before?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what they mean, right? So you've got to answer that, otherwise they won't even list your project anymore. That's pretty much the insinuation.
This is basically the question, like in the interview, like, what are your greatest weaknesses?
Yes. So
I'm
they've
a
added a
perfectionist.
risks and challenges section, basically. A risks and challenges section that you must fill out to their satisfaction, otherwise they won't list you. And I think that is a good thing. Because, hardware is difficult to produce, as we've talked about many, many times.
That is, we do talk about electronics once in a while.
We do.
Yeah.
But in the real world, you've got to actually manufacture those electronics.
Yeah.
I hate the real world.
I know, right?
Sucks.
Why can't we just do simulations all the time, right?
Right. That brings us to the next thing they no longer allow. And this is a biggie. Because this has been the staple of every Kickstarter project, hardware project out there. They now no longer allow simulations or 3D, those fancy 3D rendered models. You have to only show your real prototypes.
Yeah.
This seems like a direct response to the LifeX.
The LifeX bulb, yes.
That's probably the thing that triggered this, because that's been in the news quite a bit recently as an example of
the LifeX.
It was on Reuters a week ago. Yeah,
Reuters really ripped into it.
The vaporware
as well
of the
as
day.
Kickstarter in general. We'll put up the link to this. Do read it from a guy called Felix Salmon.
Wow.
And he really tears into this LifeX or LifeX light bulb project.
Yeah.
It's basically a Wi-Fi project bulb. And he says there's no way in hell they're going to be able to manufacture it when all the major players in the industry can't even produce these bulbs.
Yeah,
right?
and this is a particularly typical Kickstarter in that the first thing you see when you open the Kickstarter page is this beautiful conceptual 3D object.
It is sexy, isn't it?
If you looked at it too quickly, you think, oh, well, there it is. There's the product. That's the thing that I'm giving them money to make, right?
$1.3 million already?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's done by Andy Gilm, who I know. He's from the Melbourne Hackerspace, and he's I think the key hardware architect on this, and now it's his full-time job, I believe. Anyway,
1.3 million. That could be my job if they want.
Hi, Andy, if he's listening. I do wish you the best of luck. I do hope you can actually produce this thing. But it's going to be tough to produce it, and they're pretty much admitting that. They're admitting lots of stuff. They're very open in their Kickstarter project of what challenges they face and stuff like that. But
on the back of questions we received, we have adjusted the video to more accurately reflect new information. We removed IPv6 from the main info page. Wow.
Anyway, and it is a sexy rendering, isn't it? It just makes you salivate and want to buy one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so this is what they've effectively banned now. You're not allowed to do that anymore. You're only allowed to show real photos of real hardware.
That's tough for machine metal stuff, man. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, you could do the same thing, right? You could put metallic paint on a 3D model of this heat sink, and it could be total crap, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, there's ways around it.
It forces people to actually. I kind of like this. They've really laid down the line in the sand and said you have to do serious work up front and actually spend some money up front and get your prototype made.
Yeah,
and see,
I really like it.
That's what I do. I would never put a project on Kickstarter or any other crowdfunded site unless I had actually produced at least a few through the production line, and here's the finished.
Production line could be your garage, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be.
It could be, but I would even run a panel through the local assembler just so that I've produced 10 of them on a panel.
See, but doesn't that mean that you are using it as a store? That's the part I don't get. Like, well, that means you're like, oh, well, I'm just using this for marketing and distribution, right? And that's what some of our listeners wrote in about. They wrote in about
because
the
you may not have the money to buy,
I guess
parts for 5,000 units, right?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, that might be a valid point. But I mean, some of our listeners, so Adshay and Uniclocker were talking about the Teensy 3. And how basically that was an Arduino clone, right? And basically he didn't have them, or he was already done, but he just wanted to use it as a distribution point. And he said you could buy multiples, which we'll get to, I'm sure.
They've kind of banned that now. They've put restrictions on that. You're not allowed to sell, packages of 100 or something like that. I think. Right. That's another.
Right.
Thing they've shut there.
It's tough. Let's just say this. Kickstarter was not meant for hardware.
Right. But no, I think it's a good line in the sand. It was a tough line in the sand for them to do, I'm sure. But I think it's good. It now forces people to at least do some legwork.
Yeah,
and produce a real prototype, because there were so many on there that were just, 3D models and that's it. Pie in the sky.
Yeah,
stuff,
it's all too easy for a group of industrial designers to come up with some impossible product idea, but it has
some architects on there.
That's right. Yeah, it's got these great photos and great drawings, and I think Kickstarter is, if you can get that bandwagon rolling, it just
get the good press.
That's right. Yeah, you get the good press, and it turns into this huge thing, and pretty soon money's like pouring in it's like the river of dollars is coming at you, right? And I think it's good that Kickstarter's trying to look out for the apparently very gullible public.
Oh, they're covering their own ass. Don't kid yourself in any way, shape, or form. This is for them, because it's going to come back eventually, right? So there's going to be a class action suit, and they're going to be like, oh, well, we didn't get these things.
Well, fortunately, them protecting their interests, at least to a certain extent, protects the general public interests.
Agree.
Public's interests as well.
Well, there goes that perpetual motion machine I was going to put up on there. I had it all worked out. I had a great rendering. It was
and you had the video rendered and everything. Yep. Ready to go. Yeah. And I think it's not a bad thing. I think it's good, actually.
Yeah.
So, because there were just too many on there that I just look at them and they go, oh man, another 3D render. Oh,
yeah. Well, some of these I wonder. So I wonder about the multiple things though, because some of that has value. Like some of these, like especially for electronic stuff, people are trying to target the $100 range or so because it's still consumer friendly. Then a lot of people wanted, I think the thing is when it's like an iPhone iPhone accessory, if it's less than $100, you'll get a lot of people that are willing to buy that in such a huge market. So, but the thing is with this, multiples of it, right? How people are trying to ramp up how much money they're getting, and I don't see it working the same way that like music groups do it. It's like music groups will say, well, the album is $15. You get a copy of the album for $5,000. We'll fly out here and we'll fly out to you and sing a concert in your living room. And it's like, now is it like, well, for $5,000, I'll fly out to your house and do some CAD in your living room.
Well,
I'll assemble in your garage.
It's not unheard of. I mean, the Oculus Kickstarter, they had a couple options where you could fly out and you could see their production facilities. You could get a tour. You could meet the founders.
I guess so. Yeah.
I think there's still you can do those sorts of what kind of touchy feely things.
Value added.
Yeah, right.
That's I guess so. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why anyone would pay an exorbitant amount of money for that. I don't.
It's an interesting
some of these
technology.
Things, I don't know why people just donate. Like especially if this person is just, no, like for some projects, I certainly understand it. Oh, this is a great idea. It's helping out the community and all that sort of stuff. But some of them are clearly targeted at just making money and starting their own business, which is against the Kickstarter rules. You're not allowed to use Kickstarter to start as just the sole goal is starting your own business.
Oh, interesting.
That is not. Yes, that is because the Tangibot actually was borderline. The Tangibot was actually against the Kickstarter rules there. If you read it, and a lot of people pointed that out. They said because the guy in his video, the Tangibot guy, I forget his name, said, "Oh yeah, I want to start my own 3D printing business," and you're not actually allowed to say that. You're not allowed to claim that you're using Kickstarter to start a business. Yeah, it's. Yeah. Yes, that is. If your sole goal is to build up a business empire, not allowed to do it. There you go.
Well, that is. This is an interesting time we're living in. I think
it is, and it's all happening so fast, and the rules are changing so quickly in response to, projects that are going pear-shaped.
So I had a question about all this stuff because I asked this a while back on the subreddit that we have for links and stuff.
And who are you asking exactly?
Probably you.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, I've got an opinion of everything.
There we go, yeah. So I would be interested from the audience too, though, is like, so hardware is back in vogue, or maybe it's going to become more back in vogue or whatever, but are we seeing actually more demand for hardware engineers because of this, right? That's the question. Is, like you said,
industry?
Someone. What's that?
In industry?
No, more so like it's startups, I guess, or new companies, or even just Kickstarter projects. Are people actually hearing, like, oh, well, I need a electronics person to be able to work on this project, or is it more like, well, we'll figure it out?
I think they're so few and far between. It's just so far down in the noise. I don't think it matters.
Okay. I just think I would expect
it's not like there's 10,000 Kickstarter hardware projects. There's a dozen or two.
Sure as hell feels like it.
Well, yeah, I know. and most of them are they are hardware guys to begin with, or at least they have some hardware experience. So
yeah, true.
It's not often that they have to go out and hire someone to take care of the hardware for them.
I do think it's cool that these projects make hardware engineers seem like rock stars, though. It definitely it's changing the public image of what it means to design hardware. And you get a cool Kickstarter project going, and the lead designer, he's in the videos. He's got a very public presence. I mean,
he's not just the nerd in the lab.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I think that's really cool.
Actually, if anything, they need video people to produce the slick video for them, right? Because it's all about the slick video, right?
It really
Not everyone can do a slick video. I'd have it's my full-time living to make videos, and I'd have a hard time doing a really slick video.
Right, with all the fancy cuts.
Because I'm
and
so
everything.
used to just, slap it together kind of videos.
Yep.
I've got the secret is Canon 5D narrow depth of field.
Those nice.
It makes everything
nice
awesome.
bokeh effects in the.
That's right. Yeah.
Should I know what that means? I have a new camera. I don't know what that means.
It means that blurry background. The object in the front is in focus. That's a very what's called a shallow depth of field.
Okay.
So the object in front is in sharp focus, and the object behind is all blurred out.
Don't they need to actually sometimes then change it too, so that they focus on something else? Isn't that part of making videos look cool? Or
yes,
that's right. Yeah, it's all about highlighting the object that you want to highlight, and blurring everything else so that the viewer's attention is. See, I don't know anything about making films, but that's my understanding of it.
Yes.
And so the way you do
it can
this,
be grossly overused.
right? Yeah. It kind of, if you go on Vimeo, it's everywhere, right? You see it.
See, I hate using it. Actually, I've shot a segment on this before, and it'll be in an upcoming video I've already shot about lighting in my lab. I actually shoot. Yeah, here's a teaser. I shoot a little depth of field kind of primer kind of thing. It's very, it's very crappy, but it explains this effect and how when you're doing, say, a teardown of a board, I show my board as an example, when it's on an angle, the front of the board will be in focus, but the rear of the board's not. And I find that really annoying when I'm watching a video.
Me too.
If that board is tilted to an angle, I want the whole board to be in focus, not just the front of the board, or sort of the middle of the board sometimes. If the camera is set so the depth of field is so shallow that the middle of the board is in focus, the front of it's out of focus, and the back of it's out of focus. It's bloody annoying.
Yeah, you see this in product photos sometimes.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, particularly
and
done by...
The way to fix that, folks, is to open your aperture up. So increase your f-stop, increase your f value.
That's actually closing the aperture down.
Closing, whatever the term
Don't worry,
is.
Dave,
Right?
you still have no idea. You have more. You know more than I do, because I'm just totally lost right now.
Anyway, it's increasing the f value. That's what you've got to
right.
do. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
What physically happens in the lens, who cares? Right?
Hey, some engineer at Canon worked
Yeah.
for years.
Throwing up in his mouth right now. Yep.
I'm going to get taken to task. I don't know the terms, but I do know the effects. And it's a pain in the ass. I hate
That's right. Yep.
I think there's nothing worse, and sometimes nothing worse than a product photo where, it's all out of focus, like at the back. Like, show me the detail. Anyway, I'm guilty of it too. So, sigh.
So, the lesson being, don't have Dave make your Kickstarter video for you.
Right, no, I suck ass.
Might be better off having him work on electronics for you. So now, Dave, you've stated before that you said you think that you would like to do a Kickstarter or something similar someday. Does this now change it?
No, I just want to do it for the experience of doing it, I think. It won't be on Kickstarter because I'm not American, so I can't do it. Because you need someone in the US to take legal responsibility for it.
I was going to say, a lot of people in the US, but that second part.
Yeah, taking legal responsibility for my project.
If I get the money, I'm gone, man. It'd be the amp hour with Dave.
Oh, boy. Yeah, so I'll do it on the Australian Possible website, most likely. So I'll give it a go. I could regret it, totally. In fact, it's likely I will, but anyway. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Or it could completely flop. I may not make my target,
Yeah.
So... Who knows?
I had another question about Kickstarter, and you're not going to like what's next. There's an article about the Internet of Things.
Oh no!
Things. Do people give a crap about things that aren't connected anymore, though? That's my question.
Yes, I think they do. It's because a lot of the people, there's a lot of gadget freaks just trolling Kickstarter, right? Trolling as in the term of looking through.
Right,
that's
not trolling like
term.
Saying, I'll take 20. Kidding.
And some people say, I'm not using the term correctly. It's actually trolling. But no, trolling is actually a legitimate use of that term. Anyway.
Okay.
No. And they just search Kickstarter for the latest gadgety thing, and they salivate at the mouth when it connects to their freaking iPhone.
Burning a hole in their pocket kind of thing.
Even though it's not useful. I mean, take this LifeX bulb, right? Novel project, okay, granted, but I don't want to... Why would I want every light bulb in my house controlled by my phone? If I have to go find my phone to control the bloody lights, I just want them on, off. Rarely do I need to change the colour. I'm so old. Rarely would I need to change the colour or dim it. I don't know. But people will flock to buy it, right? And they have, right? Because it's novel, but they don't think about the practical. They're just buying a toy. And any toy that connects to the internet or their phone is cool. And that's why they'll buy it. But it doesn't mean that projects that don't connect to the internet can't be successful as well. Because they certainly can.
I just can't... I can't put anything on the internet, basically. That's my concern, is I'm pretty clueless.
You suck at it, yeah.
I'm a dinosaur already.
Same here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're dying breed, man. You know.
Jeff, comments. Come on.
Jeff's like, I can put shit on the internet. Jeff's like, I'm doing this all the time at Valve.
I mean, in terms of the LifeX, I definitely haven't been a supporter of the Internet of Things. I think in particular areas it might be useful. Like, it would be cool if my dryer would text me when it was done, you know. Yeah, I mean, sure.
Right.
That's kind of cool. And it'd be cool if my refrigerator, I don't know, told me something, but I
Jeff,
think
I'm hungry. Give me more food. I am not at my peak capacity.
But if you read the Kickstarter for the LifeX, it delivers an amazing range of experiences we think you'll love. Like, yeah, great.
Your light
Thanks.
bulb.
With light bulbs. I just don't. Yeah, I don't need that complexity. It's one thing. Yeah, I mean, this is really it's a commentary on having infinite configurability is often not actually an asset, right? Because the more knobs you have to turn and configurations you can adjust, the more likely you are to end up with something that you're actually not happy with.
Right. The more likely you're about to say,
flexibility
I want
not...
on and off, like Dave did.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, people complain about this with my power supply project, which is what I aim to put on Kickstarter. Oh, why doesn't it connect to my phone? Why doesn't it? Oh, who wants buttons? Why can't it all just be app-based on my phone and do this and do that? And, you know, why can't it have Bluetooth interface and a Wi-Fi? And, oh, bloody hell, it's a power supply.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
yeah, you know, I try and
Give me a
balance
break.
that too from like marketers I've talked to about like that kind of same thing where it's like, oh, people love buttons, but then it's like, well, people love buttons now. I don't know if they'll love buttons in the future, but at the same time, it's like, well, buttons are a hell of a lot easier. So, so there's a reason for buttons. I don't know.
totally depends on the project, as you say. Some totally suited to it, but there's a lot of people who just love to buy gadgets, and gadgets that do this sort of stuff look cool. And there's people with a lot of free money out there who love to plonk down and, you know, plonk down their money on these toys.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you need two versions of your product. The one that actually does its intended purpose, and then the one that connects to your phone and has all these bells and whistles that cost 3 times more.
Yeah, internet connected
And there's nothing
brick.
wrong with that, by the way. If you want to market your product to people who just like toys and then they play with it a couple of times and throw it out, well, you know, so be it, right? You're catering to a market.
Yeah.
I am not one of those users, so you're not going to get my money, but
Right.
you know.
Yeah, and that's
I
the
mean,
thing, right? I mean,
there's-
I guess we're electronics people talking about electronics. You know, we think about buying gear or, you know, buying stuff that's useful for our hobby. But a lot of people are doing it for commercial success or for people that are trying to buy everyday stuff, right? And that's you know, we might be part of that subgroup as well, right? But we're not we're things that are targeted towards us specifically as electronics people would be different than for the general populace. So, like an oscilloscope or a soldering iron. Right. So, speaking
That's
of
the
things
Kickstarter,
that electronics people
surely.
want to buy, Dave has what I'm going to call a rumor, because I don't believe this in the slightest.
What are you talking about?
The Art of Electronics 3 will be out early next year.
Art of Electronics 3. You're not going to be sucked in to the vaporware that is Art of Electronics.
I want to believe that.
It'd make a great T-shirt. Art of Electronics vaporware since 2006.
I want to believe.
I want to believe.
The new I is someone who wrote on our subreddit, and he said, and Maxim parts will be easy to source. I'll believe it when I see it.
I want to believe.
So what's the deal here?
I just want to get a T-shirt for that, just for kicks.
You should,
really.
man. Oh,
I know. That'd be awesome.
that'd be a good T-shirt. I like that.
Art of Electronics 3, I want to believe.
Do it.
With a picture of a UFO in. Oh, boy. Anyway, Win Hill has come out
He's calling
just
you?
today. There, he's on the phone. He's calling with an update for the
Great
for
timing,
the
man.
project. Oh, boy. Real professional here, aren't we?
Oh, yes.
And he has come out just yesterday, or I think I read it this morning. Actually, I did on the forum. Somebody's been in contact with him, and he says yes, he is targeting an early 2013 release. So, and he's talking about, he's got all these extended chapters and stuff like that, which he admits that are just getting out of control. And, and if he doesn't call it quits, then on those chapters, he'll never get it done.
Right.
Yeah,
well, he's got to start
and
episode 4 as soon as he can, right? Or edition 4.
I read the post, and it was interesting because he's basically saying that, well, he's just going to cut it off. Like, they're done working on it. And that's probably a good sign, because they could probably keep writing forever, so they need to constrain themselves somehow. And it looks like they're finally getting serious about actually releasing it, which is awesome.
I think so. I got that serious vibe from it. That, I think once he's made that decision to go, oh, look, I'm sick of this, I'm just cutting it off. No more new info in there. Boom.
Yeah.
Ship it,
I was telling someone about it the other day, and I did the math. Wasn't it 89 was the last edition, or was it
Yes,
later
I
than
think
that?
it was 80. Yeah, that'd be right.
Yeah,
I've
that's
got it.
20,
No, have
23
I got it
years?
here?
Yeah, that's...
Wow, that is a long time in terms of electronics. It's changed a lot in that time. The sad thing is that,
it hasn't changed. It's just expanded, right? I mean, it's not like assembly language hasn't changed. It's just there's more
and
of it
not
now.
as relevant anymore.
Right, it's not as relevant.
I mean, the
but
art
it's
of
still
electronics. There's chapters about using 68,000 series microprocessors.
Yeah, I think all that should be ditched for any new.
Maybe you should work with industrial stuff in the Midwest, Jeff, because I see 68,000 processors every damn day.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I always hated the fact that book had microprocessor stuff in it. I thought, why? This is one of the best analog, electronic books on the market. And they've just got this microprocessor shit in here. Like, why?
Oh, so you're saying that they should just cut it out because
I think they should cut it out completely.
That's
and if it's just analog,
I
it
don't
makes
see
it
any
timeless,
value
right?
in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it used to be probably where that was all you had to know to fake being a digital designer, right?
Okay. Yeah,
But now the digital field has expanded so much that you may as well not even try. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would be disappointed if there's FPGAs in this one, right?
Yeah,
I would just
that's
be
true.
that's a waste
true.
of space.
Yeah,
I'd be buying this book because it's the duck's guts in proper electronics analog. FPGAs and micros, they're all system level stuff.
Right.
More to, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
So, no.
I think the last and the first and second edition. I've never actually seen a first edition. I don't know if you have a first edition leather bound and everything, but I think it was just trying to be all inclusive too, right? And that's another reason.
It was at the time, which is I can understand at the time because there weren't really microcontrollers like there are these days.
Right.
The microcontroller market didn't exist like it does today, and FPGAs weren't really around back then, and so you basically had analog stuff, and you had these microprocessor things, which I can understand having a chapter or two.
Yeah, hey man,
I don't think it's relevant.
Even Jim Williams had in his thermocouple app note. There's actually there's I think it's C. It might be assembly, but he's got code about calibrating thermocouples. It's really weird. You look into this linear tech app note, and then you're like, code? What am I looking at?
If it's got a nice algorithm in it, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah,
it's not
it
about
is.
the
It totally
coding,
is.
It's about the algorithm.
Yeah, but
which is cool. I'm totally cool with that.
for me too. But it's just like code. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I know. Oh boy. So, are we taking bets now? Is anyone gonna guess?
About whoever loses has to shave their head?
Oh, wow, it just got really serious really fast.
Hey man, start of electronics. This isn't some a little pamphlet we're talking about here.
This is our whole life.
I don't know.
Boy. My guess is mid 2013.
Yeah.
By the time I'm able to get one, minimum.
They still make books,
that's
huh?
That's pretty likely. It takes a few months for a book to actually make it onto shelves. So even if they released it early next year, it'll still be spring.
Now here's
summer.
the real question: is will they have a Kindle edition finally?
Oh god,
they still don't have that for the second edition, right?
No.
So
there's just a scanned PDF available somewhere. Or some crappy scan thing or something.
I've never seen that.
You
It's
would
not
read
official.
The Art of Electronics on your Kindle?
No,
well,
you wouldn't.
Okay, how about just EPUB?
Well, if it was formatted properly,
yeah, just
maybe.
yeah,
but-
searchable, and like even if it's searchable from a PDF standpoint, that's better than what it is now.
A bookmarked PDF would be awesome. Yeah, searchable, like full text PDF would be cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're not going to just sell you a PDF these days. They'll sell you an EPUB or something else you can't easily, share. But whatever it is, it might be worth buying to have on a digital device like that. So even if it's an iPad,
I
or
would
whatever
still
else.
want the Dead Tree version.
Yeah, me too. It's got a thump on the desk, right? If that's how you.
How big's it going to be? Because edition 2 was like 1,100 pages or something. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just insane. And now he reckons they've got like 12 new expanded chapters or something. Holy crap.
I can't wait, man. It's going to be
It'll
like
probably be printed on phone book type paper,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
They'll
that
call
really
DigiKey
thin stuff,
catalog
yeah.
makers, right?
Right.
Well, we're not making DigiKey catalogs anymore, so
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be in full color too.
yeah.
Right.
Well,
Oh,
we'll
boy.
see. I don't know. We'll see. You guys both have it, right? I mean, you have the originals.
Oh,
Yeah. We've got Art of Electronics. Yeah, I've got 2 copies.
Yep. Ew.
Or I did have. Maybe I sold one. Anyway. Yep. What else we got on the list? We got no time left, but we'll add something. Well, no, we've got 5 minutes.
Yeah. Which means like 35 minutes if we really want. I mean, right?
Yeah, of course. Let's go.
Amp hour time.
Yeah, our last
right?
episode was an hour and a half. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
We're still called the Amp Hour though,
Yeah. Well.
because it's a funky name. I like it.
How about some amp hour trivia?
We have Amp Hour trivia.
Dave is 1.028 smoots, and Chris is 1.075 smoots.
I cannot believe you hadn't heard of the smoot.
I'd
as a
probably
unit
pass
of
it.
measure.
I had seen that wiki page before, so if people don't know, there's a Wikipedia page of odd measurements, and one of them is the smoot, and that's what Dave was referring to when he told me how tall he is, and so it's 5.58 feet or 170 centimeters.
Jeff, how many smoots? How many smoots are you?
Jeff's pretty smootful. He's about as tall as me, right?
I'm 6'2".
Yeah. so-
Oh, okay.
So-
That's like 1.2 smoots or something, isn't it?
No, it's like 1.1.
Roughly?
It'd be about
1.1 something. Okay.
Yeah, I'm taller than Dave though. That's the trivia.
Yeah, I'm 1.10 smoots.
Nice.
There you go.
Jeff towers over both of us, Dave.
But mine is 1,028, like 1.028.
Wouldn't
It's
it be
kind of like I just flipped that binary digit, kind of. It's kind of nice. I like it. At least I'm closer to a binary multiple than you guys.
Wouldn't it be 1.048? Would be what you want? 1048?
Yes, but at least I'm close.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Gee,
All right.
that segment just sucks ass, dude. Let's not do that again.
Yeah. No more trivia.
Straight
delete that
trivia.
one.
No more trivia. Well, we can't do Chip of the Week. I've been doing Chip of the Week on chipreport.tv. I took that away. Or at least I don't pay attention to putting stuff on the amp hour anymore.
What's this crap you got on the list about hardware is dead?
Oh, yeah.
we just do a whole show about hardware is the new thing?
Them's fighting words. Hardware is dead.
It was a sensationalized
Hardware is
title.
dead. Long live hardware.
Yeah,
I think that is
exactly.
like the definition of a sensationalized title.
Right. Basically, the idea behind that article.
Who is VentureBeat? Where this article comes from? Who the hell is VentureBeat?
It's like TechCrunch or any of those other, we follow startups
useless
kind of
websites.
thing. Yeah.
Right, useless technology blog websites.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Anyways, what the idea was is they found a $45 tablet basically that had Android 4.0, Wi-Fi, like a nice screen. It had full access to all the Google APIs and everything. Basically,
I can't believe it has a nice screen. I believe it has a screen. I can't believe it has a nice screen for $45. I'm sorry. It's just it. It's
I don't
just
know.
not going to happen.
But that was basically the idea, though, is that at $45, no one is making any money anymore. And I've I agree. No one is making money on tablets, but I don't think. I mean, like people haven't been making money on computers in general since I don't know what 95. Like there's no margin left in
the big
generalized computers anymore. So it's not like that surprising this stuff. But yeah, $45. That's nice. I don't know. Like I can't make a tablet for $45, but I expect that in China, if they're selling it at a 20% margin, it's conceivable with what Dave says is a crappy screen and generalized third generation hardware, or 3 generations back or whatever. You probably could find a tablet for $45. I don't know.
And you can get them for $35 a piece if you want to get 20,000 of them.
Right. Which means that they probably are about like $20, $25 BOM cost or whatever. And there's nothing saying that there could be, some of it could have fallen off the back of a truck. There's no way to know if it's actually like legit.
Right, if it's just a surplus lot or something.
Yeah, you can buy 20,000, but can you buy 2 million of them?
Can you buy 20,000 next week?
Right, exactly.
No. Right, you can buy 20,000 this week and that's it.
The only thing I was interested in this story about was, well, actually, it's 2 things. One is it gives credence to my idea of using a tablet as a generalized screen. Oh, there it is.
No.
Using it as a generalized screen, right? And I've talked about that before. Because of the cost, right? At $45, that could easily be part of your BOM if you're trying to have a 10-inch screen on your device.
Fail.
Nothing to say about, actually sourcing a decent screen or, a reliable tablet each time. But the other interesting thing is that this just totally ignores the idea of custom hardware or just specialized hardware, right? It's just like, hardware, like I said, computer hardware is dead. You're not going to make money on building tablets, but you are going to make money building, products for a specified market, just like you've always been able to. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand why anyone wants to follow that race to the bottom on Kickstarter again. Sorry, and produce something at really low cost. Like, as in, like you feel you're obligated to because you have to compete. Jeff and I were talking about this a little bit before the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you're just not going to make enough margin on it. It's just, you're working for slave labor wages.
Yeah.
It's hopeless.
Well, you're always going to have customers asking you for lower prices, right? That's just a relentless drive because people expect it, right? It's baked into the marketplace. But, some things people don't expect to ask for lower prices on, like, I don't know what.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I think you have to, you don't build commodity stuff, right? It wouldn't make sense to start a Kickstarter to build laptops, right? That were just ordinary laptops that you could buy at Best Buy. You need to be adding value somehow.
Right. Yes.
If it's a software layer on top.
Meet in some niche market. You've got to.
Right.
That's the key. That's always been the key in this business.
Right. Target your market appropriately. Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. Don't try to compete with Samsung. It's just not going to end well if you're trying to build exactly the same thing as you could buy elsewhere.
Yeah. Or don't do a Kickstarter making a $10 watch. You're just not going to win, right? It's pointless.
Right. We're losing $3 per unit, but we'll make it up in volume.
Oh, boy. It reminds me of the quote on how do you make money from free stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Volume. That's when free software. How do you make money selling free software? Volume.
So there was an interesting article it was 2 weeks ago now. I'm not sure, her name is Amanda Payton, but she wrote about APIs for manufacturing. And yeah, so APIs are, I don't even know what API stands for. It's like you throw a standard.
It stands for Application Programming Interface.
Ah, thank you. Oh man,
yes.
Dave's the software strength around here.
I'm the software guru.
To show how bad that is.
Right, how bad you are. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But basically, she was asking about the fact that maybe someday like if China continues being the hardware powerhouse it is, if it ever would be possible for an industrial designer like we were talking about earlier to just throw an idea there, right, and then pop out.
I can see where this is going. Yes.
Yeah, popping out the product basically. Is that ever a possibility? And
well, it is now. There's companies that will. It's called a turnkey solution. There are companies that will do that for you. They will take your idea. And some of them will actually take your idea and do everything for you.
Oh, really?
They're usually called those invention companies, you know.
Oh.
And, we talked about them before.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
but there
I
are
think
people.
the role of the contract manufacturer is expanding into this, though, right? There are a lot of CMs you can give half-baked products to, and they'll finish a remarkable
Polish it
part
up
of the
for you,
design,
and-
right? Including, redesigning portions to become to be manufacturable.
So like all the DFM
You
work.
can give them your hand-built
Right.
prototype. Here's
That's
my
right.
hand-built prototype.
Yeah.
I want you to 3D design the case and do it, and give just, I give you money. You give me 10,000 of my widgets.
Right.
You give
Yeah.
me thing.
Now, I've heard of this even contract manufacturing developing firmware and developing
Oh, really?
wireless
Yes.
stacks and
Same here.
the amount of
Yeah.
capability that's on that end of the supply chain is amazing. So this sort of does exist in a way, I guess.
They will usually subcontract out. Like if it's firmware or VHDL or something, they will subcontract it out to India or something like that and get somebody to write it for them. They usually don't do it in house. They will do what they can in house, but often they will have so many connections to other people who can do it. Then they subcontract out to other people. So
So maybe they'll become
it's,
like the what is it called? What's that type of shark that kind of like feeds on the remains of the big shark? Is whatever the big shark's eating. You know what I'm
it's just
talking
called
about?
shark. Don't all sharks do that?
No, there's a certain type of fish that like kind of like it's like symbiosis or something. It's like a little tiny shark that swims along with the bigger shark.
Right. Okay. And just sits there and waits for the bigger shark
Right,
to
exactly.
die or get
So
killed.
the idea there would be if you're a hardware person, like an individual looking to get some hardware work, maybe you kind of hover around the CM waiting for them to say, "Oh, well, we need someone to lay out a new board or work on firmware or whatever," and you go gobble that up and you and you say, "Thank you,
I know
big shark."
people that do that.
Yeah.
They're PCB designers,
Yeah.
and they do a lot of their work comes from these contract manufacturers. Because they've, somebody's given them the task of, we want you to lay out this board to fit in this case or something, and they don't want to do it in house, so they farm it out. They farm out mostly everything because really their speciality is the manufacturing side of things.
Right,
usually,
right. They don't want to deal with
is
the
the
rest.
pick and place machine.
Right.
They don't design 3D cases in house. Usually, they'll give it to someone else. They don't lay out boards in house. Usually. So, but they're happy to take your money and. But you can get screwed. I mean, if you choose somebody in China, we lay out, we do turnkey, and then you give them everything, or your hopes and dreams and all your money, that you mortgaged your house for, and they don't produce. Well,
you're screwed.
You're left holding the bag.
Yeah.
Oops. And it's a big smelly turd left in the bag, usually.
Right. Well, and it's funny too. You think about that idea too, where it's like, well, you hand them a big bag of money with like a canvas sack with like a big money sign on the side, right? And you say
with a big dollar sign on the outside.
you got to do that, right?
Right.
And then they hand you back this product in 3 months or whatever, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go sell this, and then. But what happens, like, you're going to be coming back with another bag of money in about 3 months when they can't source those parts anymore, and your firmware doesn't work because someone you haven't written the code or anything, right? I mean, so there is a significant value to having certain parts of the line in your own control, right? And that could even be the manufacturing.
Well, you could argue that you should have everything in your control, ideally.
Right, yeah, even manufacturing, right?
That's the ultimate gain. That's the ultimate goal,
right.
Really, is so that you have control over everything. If you don't, it's a risk, and risk is, usually frowned upon.
Yeah.
So,
well, another VentureBeat article about that, too, is basically there was a bunch of Harvard folks basically saying that same thing of, hey, you might want that hardware stuff back here, the manufacturing stuff back in the U.S. or wherever you are, too, because it kind of allows those little tiny feeder sharks around the big shark. Basically, just from a jobs perspective,
I've heard a lot of people get called out on that they've, given their turnkey stuff to a manufacturer and they've done everything for them and they've produced what they wanted, no problems at all. But then when they try to get the info back out of them so they can take it somewhere else, no, sir.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah, you do it yourself.
Hey, that's right. You have to start. A lot of them have started from scratch again because
Really?
they simply could not get the info out of that contract manufacturer. They go, no. There was nothing in the contract that said we have to give it to you.
Can you imagine
Or
fixing
even
the
if they
same
do, they go,
firmware
"We're in
bugs
China."
twice because of that? You fix it one time and then you redo everything. You have to fix it all over again. That would be really frustrating.
Oh, boy. Last words from Jeff, because we're out of time.
Put him on the spot.
Well, thanks for
On the
having me
spot.
on the show. It's been fun, and I always enjoy it. So thanks.
How's your time looking in the future? You think you're going to get more busy or less busy?
I think it's probably going to maintain a very busy state.
Oh yeah, you are very
for
busy.
the foreseeable future. Yeah.
I'm asking is can we see you again, Jeff?
Yeah. I mean, I've generally free on the weekends, so this works out really well for me. And
Good stuff.
I'd definitely like to be on the show again. So if you guys will have me, it's always
You
fun.
don't work weekends? You slacker.
Yeah, right.
No, don't tell anyone. But no, actually, I've been trying to get into doing some projects on the weekends, and it's
Nice.
been I'm pretty busy during the week. But I just picked up a DE0 Nano FPGA board that I've been meaning to teach myself Verilog. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, and now I've got access to some really good FPGA programmers at work, so I can ask them questions. So it's been something I've been playing with a little bit, and getting back into ham radio again, and trying to get a ham station set up at home. And
Nice.
Alan, I think, is interested in getting his license here, so
Yes, I've heard that.
somebody to talk to, that'd be cool.
Somebody to talk to at work over radio.
Oh, boy. Well, certainly do enjoy your last 3 months at Valve, Jeff, before
Oh yeah,
your wife
before the
makes you
darkness
move back.
comes.
Well, I'll still be around. I'll just be a little more paler and
Right, a little more depressive.
That's right.
You know what I said though about the Pacific Northwest is that's why the beer and the coffee's so good up there. You need the coffee in the morning. You need really good coffee to get yourself out of the seasonal affective disorder stuff. Then you need the
Right.
beer at night to just
drown your sorrows.
just drown the sorrows. Yep. Oh, son, where are you? Yeah. Well, for next
boy.
week, we will have Dr. Gregory Sharvat on our program. He makes radar out of coffee cans and lots of cool
As you do.
microwave stuff. He actually there was an article a couple years ago about using microwaves to see through concrete walls. That was him. So
Cool.
Sweet.
yeah.
Can't wait. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.